Okay, this is a learning curve for OG. So sorry. Okay, how is everyone doing today?
Hey, Mama V. It's good to see everybody. I am doing all right. I can't complain.
Awesome, awesome. Oh,
Great evening, all.
okay. And who else?
I'm good.
Okay. So we're going to talk about spiritual death. Okay. So when you hear the word spiritual death, I'm going to ask you guys, what does that mean to you? But to me, it's more than a Christian term. It's the awakening and awareness that I experience and feel on a daily basis when I am letting go of things that no longer suits me. We all have different things of what we like, what we don't like. And so for me, that spiritual death is saying to me, hey, this thing in you that you are so accustomed to doing needs to go ahead and die. And you need to start paying more attention to these other things that is more of a benefit to you, because it's helping me to go to that next chapter, that next place, that next hemisphere for my personal life. And so I just thought it was very important to talk about spiritual death, because I was really inspired by my daughter's talk on Friday, the errors of expectation. And she can talk about that a little bit, but I just want to kind of find out, what does spiritual death means to you when you hear that term?
First and foremost, welcome everybody. I don't know if you did this already, because I just hopped on.
I didn't.
But welcome to Speaking in Color Saturdays, 6 Saturdays, where we talk about communication and just different facets of life in general and how it affects communication. So when I think of spiritual death, I think about, like you said, that middle place in between the old life and the current life, and where you're going in the future. And a lot of times when people are facing or are going through enlightenment and different cycles in their life, you go through a spiritual death. And so initially, I didn't know what it was. And it really is based off of how you choose to see yourself, you know what I'm saying? And how you choose to allow the process of spiritual enlightenment and awakening to happen, because it can be a spiritual slow death. It can be a spiritual, death to where it's kind of quick because you're easily accepting of things. And it can be like really grueling. And it's based, on your process and how you allow that to happen. And I know for me initially, because you go through different levels of spiritual awakening and spiritual death. And I know initially when I first went through it was hard because it was almost like giving up identity, who are you when you feel like no one at all? But it's not that you're not anyone. You're just transitioning from this person that you have created, that the world has known, that you have known, and going into this person that you are becoming and moving forward. And so it's really hard sometimes when you have a strong avatar that you have created in past lives, and everyone has built up your representation and your self-worth off of this person that you created, and then that person is dying. And to just let that person go is really hard to do sometimes. So, I think all of us go through a spiritual death. I think that the whole purpose of this pandemic spiritually was to allow us all to go through a spiritual death, to become more of minimalist, to help ourselves as a society regroup and like slough off the dead weight and really look at who we are as people. So when I think of spiritual death, I just think of, letting go of the old, pushing forward towards elevation. And the thing about spiritual death is when you're called into the chamber, there's nothing that you could do about it. Like I said, it's going to happen regardless whether you want it to or not. How it happens is up to you, because you can allow it to happen so it can be done quickly, or you can kick, fight, and scream, which will take longer, but it's going to happen regardless.
Wow. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think for me, spiritual death goes back to what you first mentioned, the Christian ideal, which I take all the way back to Genesis. Because when you see what the story of Adam and Eve said, God is like, when you eat from this tree, you'll surely die. You read that and you're like, oh, well, they're still alive. And it's like, well, there's another kind of death that happened, where they were disconnected from the creator spirit, which was God. And I think for me, I've thought about that question a lot in the past couple of years, because I'm always like, well, what does it mean to be spiritual? Because you'll hear sermons that say, you need to connect with your spirit. And it's like, well, what does that even look like? Because you think about your body, you know how to move your hand and grab something, you know how to walk. But then there's all these other language that we say, like your spiritual walk, or spiritual this. And it's like, okay, well, it's kind of hard to grasp your mind around, because you literally don't see it with your physical eyes.
Right.
So I definitely related to this, when people say you don't know what you don't know, I think that's what spiritual death is. A lot of people are so spiritually dead, like they don't even know they have a spirit that needs to be made alive. So you're so far removed that you're like Jesus said, you're the blind leading the blind. You don't even know where to begin. So I think spiritual death is this unawareness that you're unaware.
Okay, so expound on that though. You're so spiritually dead, you don't know you're alive. Give us a little bit more on that, could you please?
Well, I think when I talk to a lot of people just every day, I just bring up questions that I think are really basic in terms of like, why are you here on this earth, or what do you want to be, or what do you want? Just like very questions I think every person should have to be able to answer for themselves. And it seems like they search their mind and they just say, I don't know. And it's just like they kind of come to the end of themselves. And then I kind of put the breadcrumbs like, well, do you think there's something a little beyond that thought, that maybe, think about a higher power, God? And that's where they seem to get lost, because they don't think that there is something beyond that line. It's almost like if someone told you, like, there's nothing outside your door of your house, and you just live in your house forever. It's like you don't think there's an outside. And so you never think about outside or to go outside, let alone what you would do when you're there. So I think for a lot of people, I always explain it in terms, if you lived in two states, right? But it's like a state of mind. So you live in the state of, this is all there is now. And when I say, no, there's another state over there you could drive to, they're like, what are you talking about? I live here and this is the only state. So people are not even aware that there's another state to go to, a car you could get in, a way to travel. They think my life is all that there is now. And so the basic thought of a spiritual life eludes them. So that's what I mean. You're unaware that you're unaware.
Okay. And so are you finding that a lot of people are more unaware because they are believers, or just because they don't understand what spiritual death actually is? Because, like you said, that's why I prefaced it with the trying to separate Christianity, because people get wrapped up in Christianity in such a way that they are followers more than thinkers on their own and
Right.
really studying the word. That's why when my daughter was growing up, we were really in non-denominational churches. We never really got into, oh, I'm a Baptist, I'm a Pentecostal, I'm a this. The word was the foundation for us. So do you believe that when people hear the word spiritual death, they only think about Christianity, or they're able to separate just being a human on this earth? I mean, I'm just trying to understand what have been your experience as it pertains to that.
Right. Well, I think a couple things come to mind. There was this guy, Dwayne Dyer. He died years ago.
Right. We love him.
And for the first time I heard him say, you're not a human having a spiritual experience, but you're a spirit having a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow, that's such a powerful idea, because most of us think of ourselves as here limited on this planet, where he's saying, no, your origin is spirit. And you're a spirit who happens to be in this physical world for the present time, but don't get too comfortable here. Right. The Bible talks about like you're a foreigner, you're just an ambassador, you're just on vacation, you're leaving. But I think the second thing I thought of is like people do use that word spiritual now, because I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. Right. So I think a lot of people believe in a spiritual world, but I think a lot of times they equate that with more like, I don't know, like volunteerism, or just some kind of vague notion of something outside of themselves. Like, people will go to a festival and like, oh man, we were all, on one accord and we were singing a song. That's spiritual. Right. I don't know if these people are really talking about like a deity or a being. I think they're talking more about like a sensation or some kind of ecstasy moment, experience. I think they equate it with an experience, not necessarily like a way of living your life. It's almost like people want to connect with this higher self. I don't know. It's kind of hard to, as I'm trying to think about it, but I think people use the word spiritual because they know they have this innate desire to go higher outside of themselves. But when you have to really give it definition, that's when they start to go like, oh, well, now you're trying to lock me into like a person or a way. No, I'm just spiritual. I'm just the universe. Even a lot of people say that, like, the universe, right, brought me this job. So I think people like the idea of something larger than themselves, but they don't really want to give it a rigid definition. Well, I know I do that sometimes because it depends upon the audience I'm talking to. I might just say the universe, because especially if I don't know where their faith lie, whether they're, the Muslims or Buddha, or, where their faith lies. So I'll say the universe, because it seems like when people are using the word God, that can also be the little God, which is material things, so it seems like the lines are becoming so blurred now. And you have to kind of tailor to the best of your ability the messaging when you're talking to people, because you don't want people to get so caught up in you using, just say, for example, God, and then they get so caught up on that they can't hear past that, And so I'm trying to get to the point. I don't want to walk on eggshells with people, but I do let people know who I am. So when I am giving a message or having a conversation, if you know who I am, then this is what I believe in. But I try to be, but the thing is, we are all, as believers, we have to deal with other people, and some people do not know a higher power. So we have to be in a position to be a vessel as well. So it's really kind of, it's really a cakewalk on how to define that thin line on moving forward, because just like you said, the spiritual experience, I kind of think about Woodstock, even though it wasn't spiritual, but that was an experience. That was like a one-off. And I was wondering, what did people do past that? Did they still take that kumbaya experience and still move forward, and to the world? Or they just, had the experience at that time and
went on with life and nothing changed in them. So when you talk about experience, spiritual experience, do you believe it's a one-off? Anybody can answer this. Do you believe it's a one-off, or do you believe that people really take that experience that they've received and they go out into the world to try to make a difference?
Well, there's a difference in between being motivated and inspired. And one can go to an event of that nature and enjoy themselves and be motivated. You know, you're on fire. You might, the energy is so high at events like that and places like that, that you might be motivated for a while, but it fades off because there was never any inspiration behind it. It was just motivation. It motivated you to, yeah, man, be a better person, love each other, like Woodstock, like, what's the fire thing that they do every year?
Is that Blue Man?
Yeah, exactly. And that is more of a spiritual thing than people want to give it credit, because you're actually writing things, putting things up to be burned later on.
Right.
Like, that's a whole nother basically spiritual ritual that you're participating in, and you're just there, you know, and to you that's spiritual, but it's more, you know, you're motivated. You know, there's nothing that you take and impart with you as an everyday, you know, being part of yourself. And so I think that's why people rely on religion, because they can actually say, you know, I am a Christian, you know, I am Muslim, I am, you know, Buddha, I am these things, you know what I mean? Because that is their way of being able to explain what they have taken with them on from these pieces of spiritualism.
Yes.
Just as, you know, in the word of God, it says that you're supposed to, you know, bond with one another and be in the church, but we are the church.
Right.
So if I go, we're having church every Saturday here. This is church. We belong to the Speaking in Colors church. You know what I mean? So it's like, people have to feel like that they're going to something, participating in something, doing something to still have that spiritual connection. And when you are spiritually in tuned, you don't have to necessarily do that to be connected. Now, there are times where you need to be with like-minded individuals. You need to basically be in the body, you know what I'm saying, of people that are like-minded, but we're doing that, like I said, here. But when you think about it, regardless of what you believe, and even in the example of Christ, there must be some sort of sacrifice, some sort of death. If you're doing the same thing every day, day in, day out, there's no sacrifice you're making, there's no life-altering change. And I'm not saying it always has to be dramatic, but when you're making a spiritual transition, there has to be some type of death. You can't say, and I'm not a person to say, you know, religion. I don't necessarily say universe, you know what I mean? I say, you know, divine guidance or divine spirit, you know, a most high God, you know what I'm saying? I say different things. I'm not against Jesus, you know what I'm saying, or Christ, but he also basically was perfecting what we are trying to do, or he has perfected what we're trying to do right now.
So let me ask you this.
He said that there's nothing that I'm doing that you cannot do lest you believe.
So let me ask you this then. So why are you using those different words to convey a higher being?
Because there was one time that I even had a problem, or it wasn't a problem per se. I felt a way about saying Jesus.
Okay.
And I struggled with that because I felt the spirit saying, like, I mean, that's cool, but I'm so much greater. And I think that people, like you were saying earlier, spend so much time dividing and dissecting an energy that is omnipotent.
Right.
They spend so much time, oh, well, you know, because Jesus and and I believe this. That's cool. Long as you are being, and when I was saying Christian, we are to go after the example of Christ. So even us sitting up, breaking down, dissecting, figuring out which is better and why you're wrong and blah, 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 all that is against Christ in general.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really had an issue with that because I felt like God is so much greater.
Right.
The energy that is omnipotent, the energy that even Jesus Christ himself communed with, you know what I'm saying, and was a part of him, which is a part of us, which is a part of every moving thing here. It's, to me, it's too omnipotent to try to put a name on it. Like,
right.
It's too like great to just call, or when people say, oh yeah, because he has been good to me. He who? Who is he? Like, God is so great that God is not a man or a woman.
Mm-hmm.
God is a fluid spirit. Like, it's in everything. So to actually just be like, oh, you know, God, this, God, I don't know. I was having an issue with that. And to me, it was like somebody playing and of all being too small. So I don't necessarily say universe, because I feel that God even created the universe. So I'm not going to call you universe because you created the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to call you, supreme being, omnipotent spirit, whatever that I feel like, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Whatever it is, but I'm not going to downplay you by putting you in a box and trying to make sense of what you are, because my little self and our little selves can never define what that is. All I know is I'm grateful every day that I'm able to breathe breath of that. And that's what this topic is, because, that's what I was saying so far, is about sacrifice. You must die. So if God is all knowing, God is a supreme being of love, light, everything that is higher vibrational, then you can't do certain things and still say that you are with and of God. You can't do that. You can't say that you're going through this spiritual, you can say that you're in transition, going through a spiritual awakening, but as you enlighten or are enlightened and you learn more and more about the presence of this supreme being in your life, you can't even eat the same. Mm-hmm. Right. Things that's too heavy, you don't even want to eat.
Right.
People that you used to be around, I don't even want to be around you. I don't want to watch porn. I don't want to look at that show. I don't want to listen to that music, because my elevation, my being is being elevated to where those things that are on that frequency don't even resonate with me. So that's really where the dying comes in at. If you're not dying to self daily, then I really don't care who you're professing to be a part of or whatever. You're not going through, a spiritual awakening, because you must die. There must be death. There must be sacrifice at some point. And it's not sacrifice like, oh, I want to do this so bad. You will struggle, because this is something that you are normally able to, that you were doing. But it's almost like, damn, I don't even want to do that no more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm filled up so much, and I feel so good that I just want to stay on this vibration and get higher, get closer and closer, be more and more connected to the divine. I don't even want nothing that's lower vibration, lower level, like, to where when people call you, it's almost like, oh, you acting funny. I'm not, like, we're just not the same. Like,
right.
We're just not. And I love you. And that's the thing too, like being of God. How can you be of God and you're walking this journey and this path, and there's not compassion and love in your heart for people? There are people that I genuinely do not care for, but I don't hate them. I actually love them. I appreciate the part that they have played in my life to get me to this place that I am now. I don't necessarily have to talk to you every day on the phone or whatever have you, but your place in my life has been pivotal to get me to die to myself daily.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's initially, to answer your question, that's why, it was just something about that. It's just like calling like a great white, a goldfish. Like, how dare you? Like, what? Like, like, or you called, a orca, even though it's in the family of it, you call an orca a dolphin? Like, what's the problem? Like, it's just not, I don't know. It was not resonating. I felt like I was playing too small when I was trying to put it in that, and to make people feel comfortable, because being raised in the church also, watch them. If they can't say Jesus and they can't, girl, bye. You say Jesus all the time, you and the crew, and your prayer life and your life and the fruit of your life is trash. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you mad over here because when I said my prayer, I mentioned the ancestors and divine spirit, and I didn't say Jesus. Girl, bye. Like, I can't. Like, I won't. I don't have a problem with Jesus. Me and JC, that's the homie. But don't do too much. Like, it's levels to this.
Portia, you have anything to add before I go on?
Oh my God.
Okay, Nikita.
I'm sitting over here dying laughing. And listen, when I tell you, I'm so thankful for y'all. I'm so thankful for this room. I'm so thankful for the communion, because this literally right now is the moment that I've been going. It's been days of a moment that I've been going through what I guess is considered a spiritual death, and having the safety of those who are in awareness and love during this time is so important.
Yes.
To answer the original question, I feel that spiritual death, much like physical, it can bring up a lot of emotion. It can bring up a lot of grief. It can bring up a lot of anger. When people are transitioning, and I've watched this with my grandparents, and I'm watching it play out with one of mine right now who is still here, but I've just observed that when it comes down to that last time frame of being present in this realm, you'll just see like a lot of stuff become unearthed, and usually not in a pretty way.
Right.
People are resisting. So there could be a lot of argumentation or just back and forth or lashing out from various people, or even that person themselves, because there were things that were not dealt with. There were things that were unsaid. There were things that were not healed. And so I think that for me describes a bit of where I've been. Into Nikki's point, it really is the shedding of the old self. And that can be very frightening, because it's like, well, who am I if I'm not this moniker that I've created within a certain spiritual box, and that can be very difficult. It's so funny, not to make light of anyone who may be a part of this or having come out of it, but I think about the Scientology community and how people who have left that sphere of influence have been completely ostracized, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
they are cut off
Yes.
from their family, from their friends, from
Yes.
the network of people, anyone who is associated with that. It's like you don't even exist. And then the slander that comes with that. And my heart grieves for that, because even though a lot of other religious organizations are not that extreme, a part of me is also grateful for the fact that they're at least honest about it.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? Because like, if you literally gonna stab me, you know, don't do it in the back. I want you to show me what you really working with. I can appreciate folks like that tell you, listen, this is what you're going to do when you try to leave. It's like the gangbanger culture. All right, we welcomed you in. You know, it was a little rough, like religion tends to do. We're going to beat you up and jump you in. And then if you think you finna leave our subset, if you think you finna turf pop, if you think you finna quit, well, we might just take you out in the process. Like, that's what it is. Don't be mistaken.
Yeah,
you know?
that is a good point, man.
And it's sad, because when you're going through a spiritual death and you're leaving a certain plane, you're leaving certain boxes, what I am now discovering is, whether they told you or not, this is what it is, Portia.
Right.
You're going to have people that don't understand, so they're going to demonize you for where it is they feel you're not.
Right.
They're going to demonize you because of whatever lingo or terminology you're using. And I'm like, it's a word in the dictionary. Look it up. Jesus didn't damn words to hell. Like, come on. The religious mindset, that is what I have been battling with, and just needing to die out from circles on that frequency altogether. And so you can feel a lot of loneliness and isolation. But I'm encouraged, because it also makes me realize that the transition is taking you somewhere else. It's not like you're stuck in between forever. Because when you die to the womb, you come to life in the 3D, in the earth plane, and you have a new set of family and people that are waiting for you there. But it can be very unnerving, I'm assuming, for the baby, when they've been so wrapped up in the womb for 9 months, even though they feel alone. Maybe they don't, I don't know. There's a certain warmth and comfort to that environment. And when you outgrow that, the pain that you must go through, and I think we go through deaths and births on different levels all throughout life until we transition into the next phase of our existence. But anyway, that for me is what I think about in terms of spiritual death. Thanks.
That was really good, because the thing is, let me ask you this though, when you talk about being jumped in, do you think that's why some people don't want to deal with that part of themselves? Because like you said, it can be scary. And then it's like you said, people allow you in their group. I guess you know their secrets, the reason why they almost ruin you if you want to leave. So do you think that, and anyone can answer this, do you think that that's part of the reason why people do not want to become a part of some of these groups or things? Because like you said, the Scientology, some people have gotten really scared. Some people felt that they've been threatened and, have to go public and all this kind of stuff. And then some people, like Tom Cruise, just stick in there because it's benefited them no matter what the cost is. So do you think that sometimes people are like, okay, I'm using what you said. Okay, if I leave, no, okay, I gotta be jumped in to be a part of this, but they didn't tell me all of this really. And then I find out I have to almost divest of myself. Because one thing I found out too, I was following the girl who is on Kings of Queen. I forgot her name. Leanne, what's her name? I can't think of her name.
Remini.
Right, her. And she was saying that you also have to give, it's kind of like the tithes and offerings. So you may also give it to your church per se, but you have to divest so much in the organization of Scientology in addition to, because they believe that their connections, like a sorority, fraternity, their connections is helping you as well. So what do you guys think about all of that? Because that is like the Baptists and all the other faiths are not as bad, but you know, Latter-day Saints and all these different ones, it's almost like a, I was just looking at the movie Skulls, you know, but all these secrets. Do you guys think that this is part of the reason why people do not identify with some of these organizations, because how they're going to be looked upon? How you guys think of all this is working? You know, I hope I'm making sense. I know.
Yes, I think that it creates further separation and division. Whenever you have a secret club that people have to totally give up everything, it's very cultish like. I think that prevents people from wanting to come in. I also think that's what prevents people from leaving and freeing themselves. Like, if the truth were told, we have no idea what really goes on. Let's say, for instance, in the mind of Tom Cruise, he could say, well, on the one hand, I'm benefiting from this situation, but on the other hand, how damning would it be if he were to leave? Like, is there more at stake for him to leave, even if he wants to? Because we don't know that everything is all peachy cream. I just know for me, when it's come to certain sectors within Christianity, it's been very difficult to completely shake myself up. And I'll say more so religious programming, religious indoctrination that condemns and damns people to hell. And it's like, Jesus didn't even do that. He came so that the world through him
Right.
might be saved. Like, that was his agenda. What agenda is the church folk on that's constantly preaching hellfire and brimstone, which is fear-based? That's a whole nother conversation. But my point is, people don't come in to the things of God because of religious trauma. And I think people stay stuck in confining situations longer than they should have ever, because they're scared of leaving and what that feels like too.
Right, because then they're isolated. And I think these faiths make it feel like you will have nobody. If you don't have us, you will have nothing. And it kind of goes to my next question, and you, anybody can answer with the one I just asked, but keep this one in mind too. It seemed like it's more of a club and less on really knowing the word. So I'll leave that with you guys. So you can answer the first one.
Well, to your last question, I mean, I think that goes back to what I was saying, why I think so many people now say they're spiritual but not religious.
Okay.
They associate religion with rules, regulations. You can't do this. You're not allowed to do this. Structure, strictness, restrictions. But spiritual is much more open, you know, new age, and like, I'm free and I can do, you know, it has a lot more different vocabulary about openness and consciousness, right? Whereas people see religion as very overly structured. And I can imagine why people feel that way, because if you went to church in America, some of the driest, most boring church you'll ever go to. It's like you sit there for hours. You know, sermons are sometimes dry, music is dry.
Right.
A lot of people made their, you know, children go. We have to go to church the same way people make you go to work and school. Right. You know, it's not a choice. Like you were saying about Nikita, like you were saying, hey, we're giving you more of a choice. And I mean, yeah, I mean, I think it took me a while to really understand what people were saying when they were mentioning how Jesus was often talking about the religious people. Like, if you read a lot, he was always talking about the Sadducees and the Pharisees.
Right.
And I used to be confused because I was like, doesn't Jesus want people to be religious? Like, doesn't he want them to be committed to this thing that he's talking about? But he was talking about something else. He was saying these people use religion as a facade. Like, the one parable, he's like, there's one guy in front of the temple and he's like, oh Lord, like, I'm so glad I'm not this guy over here. And
Right,
then the other
right,
guy's like, Lord, I'm not even like worthy to like be here. And he's like, that second guy, he's like, that's what God's looking for. Like a person who is honest, even though they're not perfect.
right,
But
right.
the other people, he's, you know, your whitewashed tombs. So
Mhm.
he seems to be talking more about religion as a like means to some kind of end. And you see what happened when people got religion. You know, they're selling stuff in the temple. I mean, they used to sell those, what were they called, indulgences. You know,
Mhm.
like if you were sinning, you could pay your way out of sin. And I
Yeah,
think, yeah, Jesus came
yeah.
to negate that, because I've never agreed with, you know, one of the things that the Catholic Church does was like, oh, you go to confess your sins to, you know, the Father. And
Uh-huh.
it's like, I think Jesus, so I believe Jesus already settled that. He tore the curtain
Mhm.
so that every human being had access to the Father, God.
Mhm.
Right. So when you start trying to turn the man or the woman into the bridge to
Mhm.
God, that's when it becomes trouble, because you're saying, well, you can only talk to God through me.
Right,
And
right.
that is the opposite of what my creation is. I'm so, like Nikita was saying, I'm so big and large, everyone can talk to me.
Right, right,
You know?
right, 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 right. So, and then what about the second one, as far as the religion, you know, like the Scientology and everything like that? It's almost like Nikita was saying, we are the church, but it seemed like we are the church ourselves within us as individuals. But it seemed like once you get into some of these faiths, my understanding from Leanne again was that Leah is that they were not, because they even had their own Bible, and it seemed like it was more on themselves and what they can do for themselves, and not so much for the world. You know, it was for the world, but if you're in the clique of, you know, that gang, for lack of a better word, that Portia was saying, you know. So what's your thought on that?
Well, have you seen this HBO documentary called Going Clear?
No.
It's all about Scientology. I think Leah might show up in there a little bit, but it wasn't based around her like her series.
Okay.
But they Tom Cruise rising to the top, and they talk about John Travolta and all the actors and all the benefits they got.
Uh-huh.
So it basically said this guy, L. Ron Hubbard, when he started writing these science fiction books, he was like, I wonder if you could invent a religion and turn it into a myth. It's like he literally
right.
like
Yes.
Portia was saying, like he wouldn't even like hide. He's like, yo, we just gonna start a religion and charge.
Right.
So at least
Right. Yeah.
But I think that's more of a question of humans, you know, contaminating the purity of what God has made. You know, because it doesn't matter where you go, there will be cliques.
Right, right.
So that's not like a religious thing. It just happens when it gets into religion, people now see it. You know, they attach it to that, and I don't like church anymore because the church people is like, no, people do that.
Right, right.
You go to work, you're going to find the same thing. You just don't have God involved. If you go to some social club, you're going to always feel like some people are clicking. This just has a lot more damaging impacts because we're dealing with spiritual, elements of life. So I think wherever you're going to go, if humans are selfish, and as we're talking about spiritual death, if you're not dying to yourself, you're going to end up doing those things. That's why I think Jesus is like, hey, die every day.
Right.
Kill your flesh.
Right.
Kill your selfish desires so you can live the kind of life where you're not putting yourself over other people. You're loving your neighbor as yourself. You're doing to others as you have them do unto you. Treat others as better than yourself. He's telling you, if you live like I tell you, if you die, you won't have these cliques. There's no cliques. I mean, if you read all the New Testament, he's like, y'all are all trash.
Right.
He's like, nobody can boast. Paul is like, none of y'all were nothing. None of y'all could boast about coming to Christ. Y'all were all not rich. You were not famous. None of y'all have stature. Even Paul was like, yo, I used to be the best Jew. I used to be, doing all the Jewish things. I'm nothing. So he really, encourages you to like consider yourself as nothing so you don't get an ego.
Right, 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 right.
And this is juicy. So before I make my comment, Bernard, how you turn on the replays? Because this is fire, and I'm sad that this is like we're not recording this.
Well, it's recorded on Zoom though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just as long as we was recording.
That's why I have a
somewhere, 'cause
backup.
this is fire.
Yeah, that's why I always
Okay.
have a backup.
So let's go towards let's look at
It's so much.
because I had to bring it all the way back. Okay, so let's look at the person who is seeking, right?
Mhm.
When you're seeking, you go to an institution for family, a community, and so you go to church or you go to a sect or a sector or whatever, whether it be Scientology, whatever. You're going into a group of like-minded individuals. So for Tom Cruise, okay, I'm a celebrity. These are celebrities. They seem to be doing this, whatever his journey was to get there. And normally the journey that anyone has who is seeking community, that's usually what it is. You go to church, if your parents aren't dragging you there or that wasn't a part of your life, you seek community. So you go to church. And so it's crazy because Bernard touched on this a lot, and Portia. There is a level when you go there. Okay, just say for instance, Sister Inez. I'm gonna just say Sister Inez. Anybody who named for real is Inez, no shade. I don't know you, and I'm not talking about you. Okay, so Sister Inez, right? You go to the church, or Sister Inez or Sister Ronald, they're there. They like, hey, how you doing? This is the most warmest, nicest person you have ever met. They almost gaslight you, like they gaslight you. They love bomb you. Oh my God, these people are so just, oh my God, right?
Mhm.
Then you start going, and this is like your third and fourth time going to the church or going to this organization. And then you see Sister Inez in the back of the building smoking a cigarette. But you like, okay, everybody got their flaws, I'm saying? It's cool. Sister Inez is in the church praying it down, but I just seen Sister Inez in the back of the building smoking a cigarette. Okay, cool. So then I come back in, Sister Inez, she done got her peppermint in her mouth. She done sprayed herself down. She gave me a hug and a kiss. Hey, baby, how you doing? That skirt a little bit too short. Let me throw this cloth over your leg. You know what I'm saying? You're tempting the people up in here. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm saying all this to say, as you continue to go, you start to see these people for real people. You done seen Brother Ronald damn near trying to holler at a little girl in the back. You done seen Sister Inez cuss somebody out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
These are people that have love bombed you and gaslit you into this organization. This is the way you need to be going. This is what you need to be doing. This is what you not need to be doing, and go this way. So I think that to speak to what we were speaking about before, I done seen your dirty laundry. I done seen what you about, what you got going on. Sister Inez, you got a husband and you be cheating. Brother Ronald damn near be a pedophile. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know your business. And so to leave there and have these people business to be able to speak about, it's almost like you in a community to where then you real tapped in, because then now you walking with Sister Inez. You have accepted her flaws, but now Sister Inez start telling you about other people business in the church.
Right.
Pastor, they about to go on foreclosure. He ain't really using the tithes and offerings for the whatever. That's his third Cadillac, and that's why he coming here on a plane. That, and you be like, what? Like, and you thought you was coming for community. You thought you was messed up. You needed to get with a tribe of people that was like-minded and going into the direction that you want to go. And you was so gaslit and love bombed that you didn't know what was going on till you start learning these people. And then you be like, who is God? But no, boo. Them Sister Inez, Brother Ronald, the pastor not paying the mortgage, that ain't got nothing to do with who God is. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so that's why I always respected my OGs and my people that'll be like, you almost get shamed. Like, people will call you and be like, girl, I'm so tired, but I'm getting up going to church. And I'd be like, oh, I'm not. I'm tired and I'm staying in the bed. And it's heck of funny because now on social media, you go to YouTube on Sunday and it's lit. Just take your pick of what you want to, listen to what you got going on. But I've been a part of bedside ministry for years. Like, I'm not getting up. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love church. I love to go to church. That's not the issue, but I'm not getting up and my spirit is like, I can't even listen to the pastor because I see so much pride and gloating on you. I can't even get ushered to my seat because I see all of this this negativity on you. See, I'm like that. So it's like, it's hard for me to be in church settings when I see all of these characteristics and all of these, for lack of a better word, lower level energies and vibrations, but you got a message to tell me. And you got pride and boastfulness and lust and all kind of stuff all over you. And I'm supposed to be taking a message from you. And no lie, that's why I love the most lit church to me was my younger church that I used to go to. Me and P and you used to go there, Actual Gospel, until they turned over to Kojic, number one. Mm-hmm. And the sectors of AA meetings and outreach meetings, like Victory Outreach and stuff like that, because like Bernard said, they come in like, we are nothing. We are addicts. We are drunk.
Yeah, Victory Outreach.
We are recovered gangbangers. We are recovered all of these things. And the only thing that we are here together in communion together for is to be more and more like God daily.
And their conversion rate seem like it's very good because they're so
not playing in there. They're not dressing it up. You don't even have to get dressed and do all that to Victory Outreach. They got tithes and offerings, but it's more so like, give what you can. They don't even, it's dang near like a donation box. Like, yeah, they got like a time for tithes and offering, period. I'm not saying it, but it's not based on that.
Right.
Come and put your face on this ground.
Right.
Come as you are.
Right.
Die to yourself. Die to the old person. Die to the swindler, the abuser, the drug abuser. Like, I love Victory Outreach in those type of churches because they're not even structured to where, like, even if you was a street woman, or you came in there and you was a street worker or a exotic dancer or whatever, they not like, oh, your dress is too short, such and such and such, get yourself together. No, God is going to give you the provisions that you need to make sure that you're addressed appropriately. But right now, you needed some spiritual alignment. Right. So whatever you got, come in and God will do the rest.
Right.
I'm not going to badger you and make you feel bad to where you like, well, oh, I can't come to the church because they keep on throwing this thing on my leg because, Brother Ronald. Brother Ronald needs to have more spiritual structure to where your knee, your calf, shouldn't have him damn near about to backslide. So we're not protecting Brother Ronald. Brother Ronald needs to get it together, and you just make sure that you make it here. I don't even care if you work all night on the pole. Make sure you make it here tomorrow.
Right. It's like it's like a 12-step program. You're right. It is. They are really into that. Yeah, we started going there in the Bay.
And you come in there and you too churchy. They on your help me. Cause it's like, man, it be vatos in there. It be people with tattoos in there. They still got their lokes and khakis on, and they are praising and crying, and man, like that is real church right there. So you have to really think about the structure of a person that's going to seek a church home or going to seek something. Somebody like Tom Cruise, like I said, you're a celebrity, so you got into a higher sect. Maybe the other things was too low for him. Some people go to what's that man name? Creflo Dollar, or different churches like that. But hey, bro, I know this is an organization. Y'all getting it in. But any church that I gotta go to and you giving me a tax form, bro, I don't need to be here.
Right. Oh,
I don't want to be here. If you ask me, what's my income so you can break down my tent, I'm cool.
Right. That is deep right there. That is deep.
I kind of don't even want the church to be too big. Like, it don't have to be really, really little. I don't want them to be too little because then everybody in your business, but big enough to, it's really about your connection with God and how you feel there. And I probably have been known to be a church hopper because I'll go 5 times in a row. But hey, if it start getting funny and weird in there and I start feeling like different stuff, I just won't go no more. I'll go to a whole nother church.
Mm-hmm.
I got so much to say.
Y'all on fire today.
Well, it's funny you brought up that because I literally just started trying to go back to church, an official church, I'll say, for the past couple of weeks. So I went to one, and it wasn't great. It wasn't horrible. And I was gonna meet with the pastor and talk, and then I like they canceled the meeting. So then I was like, well, I'm canceling the meeting because I was ready to meet, but y'all canceled on me. So I was like, whatever. So then I went to this smaller church. It was a Chinese church. So I was like, oh, this is different. And literally last week they had said, "Oh, sir, are you here for the English service?" I kind of wanted to be like, "Nah, let me just sit here while y'all speaking Chinese because it just be different. Like it'll been different, and maybe I don't know what's being said, but I don't know." So that was a smaller thing. But yeah, I guess the first thing to all the stuff Nikita was saying, y'all know where I'm gonna take it. I'm always going to philosophy.
Okay.
And the reason I bring up philosophy, because I believe philosophy is the bridge between the truth and yourself. Because if you hear somebody say a message, but you don't know how that applies to you as an individual, and you can't own it and take intellectual ownership and emotional ownership, you don't care. You just listen to somebody in the pulpit. It's like listening to a motivational speaker. It's like, okay, great. What's that have to do with my life?
Right.
So most people go to church just to like be told what to do, just like at school. Just sit there and listen to this information, and then you go put it into action. But you don't really, it's not really a part of you.
Right.
You haven't really integrated into you. So I think that's one of the main problems, is that people go to church. And it's funny, I just saw this word which I hadn't seen in a while. People call it, churchianity. And that's what Nikita's talking about. It's not Christianity, it's churchianity. It's like church. It's like theatrical church, it's about the deacon, and it's about the minister, and it's about the offering. And we can't be doing the offering after the song. It's like, it's all this stuff that has nothing to do with spiritual life.
Wow.
It's just these, the traditions of man make the word of God to none effect.
Right.
It's like people are more obsessed with the mechanics of church than like, what are we actually here to do? Like when you read the New Testament, they was like, oh, these people didn't have this. They sold their goods and they gave, so everybody else had. They met. Like people was living life.
Right.
Meeting in homes. It wasn't like, well, what time are you going to church? Or which church do you go to? Oh, we don't go to that church. I mean, even as I was just searching for churches online, it's so American. It's like, what should I expect? It's like people need to be taken through the process of what to do. Where should I park? What kind of clothes? I mean, there's literally questions on the website. What do I wear? Like, you got to be told what to wear to church. Like, come to church. If your main concern is that I'm not going to look a certain way when I come to church, you in the wrong church, and the church is wrong. I mean, what is this is about? Oh, this person is wearing casual clothes. Well, we don't do that. Like, y'all here to look at each other's clothes. Y'all here to worship God. So all this like superficiality. To connect it to the title of spiritual death. This is why spiritual death is so hard for people, because they too focus on physical. Like they have no, like I said, they have no awareness of the spiritual. Right. They're so superficially concerned with how they look. How do other people look? Where am I going to sit? What's this chair situation look like?
Oh my God, let's not get into that. Oh my God, that's my seat. It's like, people, please.
So, and I have a hard time going to churches because nobody's gonna like Nikita was talking about, I want to go to that church where people are real. Like I want somebody to come up to me and say, hey, what do you think about hell? Right? Like if we at church, right? All right, well, bring up a question. Don't be asking me where I work. So what do you do? What do you care? Like we here to go into the spiritual world of Christ. You can ask me that some other time, but we are here to get into the spiritual meat. This is what church is for. I don't get this on Friday. I don't get this on Tuesday. If the whole point of community and church is to come together to grow with one another, then I need you to be growing as well, right? So I can be helped by you. I don't want to be the one who's always helping.
Right.
And the hypocriticalness of like, like you said, your whole job on Sunday, the first day of the week, is to prepare me spiritually for the spiritual and ethereal attacks that I will face throughout the week. So if you don't leave church like ready to combat whatever comes your way with the meat and the teachings of what the pastor gave you for that week or what you learned for that week, then you might as well have stayed in bed, because you're not equipped. You're not ready. I got up, I got dressed, and I went over here, and I'm not ready for the week. So that when things come out of the woodworks, people try to attack me, different stuff, I'm not spiritually prepared. And that is what church is for, is to spiritually prepare you. And like you were saying about the materialistic things, people are so hell bent, and that's why I don't like churches that be like $100 line, $50 line. First of all, that's trash.
Yeah.
Whoever made that up is trash. That's just, it's ridiculous. But when you are facing demons, and we getting real gully, because this is what spirituality is. We're dealing in the spiritual realm, and people put emphasis on, oh, demons are these ghouls that, no, demons are lower level entities that are still, we deal with them on a regular basis, but they're in another dimension. So as I'm in my house right now, there might be lower level entities around my house. There might be things that's happening that I don't know about that are conspiring to harm me. That is the devil's job. He goes to and fro, seeing what he can destroy. And if you are not girded up and prepared and protected in your word and your rituals and your practices and what you do on a regular basis, you are a sitting duck. And don't get me wrong, it's not necessarily like, ooh, they gonna come and be bothering you, and you're gonna be, it's ghosts in your house. No. Demons can be lust. Demons can be non-progression. Demons can be jealousy. Demons can be laziness, slothfulness. Those are lower vibrational entities that are demons. And so it's like this thing that people think like, oh, when you go to church, they just think about these standard things and these ghouls and these things. When you really think about fooling with spiritual things, and that's why, like Bernard was saying, people use spirituality so loosely. When I say spirituality, I does this. I be getting in this. And matter of fact, me and my sister was talking about this. Me and P was talking about this the other day. Even when you think about the dimensions higher than us and the dimensions lower than us, even in the Bible, when it speaks about angels, every time it speaks about an angel, it says, do not be afraid. Soon as the angel come up, it's like, don't be afraid. Why would you say that? You're supposed to be this angel. You're supposed to be this thing that we see that's in the stained glass at church. No, angels is ugly. If you look upon an angel's face, you damn near would die. It will scare you to death. Because the job that it needs to do, the position of an angel, or archangel, a cherubim, a seraphim, they're not playing. And you got to be serious to fool in spiritual realms. So it's cute to go to church. It's cute to pull up in your Beamer. It's cute to have your 6-inch heels on and make sure that you fall out and you say, yes, pastor, and sing along with the choir on cue. But if you can't slay no demons in your life, you might as well stay in bed. You're not doing nothing.
Preach.
If you pray spirits off of your children, you're not doing nothing. If people that mean you bad can still walk through your door, you ain't prayed your house up enough to where you be like, damn, I always invite such and such over and they'll never come because they don't mean you no well, and your prayer got them staying away from your house.
Come on now. Come on now.
And people, oh, that's witchcraft. bro, mind your business.
And that's how you can tell too, when you go to
Stay in
someone's
your sect of whatever you got going on that's not working for you. Just because I prayed over my candle before I lit it, just because I used some of the things that my ancestors and my forefathers have done to be protected, you doing things that you don't even know what the hell you doing. You ain't never owned no dustpan in your life. You always brushing when you sweep the floor, sweeping it out the back window. Do you know what that's for? Do you know why you're doing that? Do you know where incense and candles and different stuff come from? But you just think it's real cool. It's cool. It's trendy. It's spiritual. But if I really show you how to use this and work with it, now I'm a witch. I use witchcraft because you don't know how to really work what you had before you was taught to do what you was taught to do. That's not working for your life.
And that's how you can tell.
Sorry. I know that that's off topic, but that was just really in my spirit because, man, if you literally cannot slay no demons, and I'm not even being funny, like on what's that Xena Warrior? We used to come on TV and she used to be messing with ghosts and stuff like that. It ain't even to that degree. It's when somebody's spirit come around you and it's a trigger. How will you deal with it?
And that's why
I have grown so much in life. I used to always gotta get somebody told. I'ma tell them about their stuff. You ain't gonna let me know. I'ma let you know. I don't even have that in my spirit no more to do. I'm gonna let you think and do whatever you want because I've grown past that. And so that is spiritual death also. You have to grow past these things and push past these things. And I'm through.
Okay. But that's why it's important to also too, when you are in someone's space, you can tell a lot about them when you walk into their house, when you get into their car, like you say, when you get into their presence, about their spiritual prayer life, because people's energies say a lot about where they are, within their space and within their lives. That's all I want to say.
I can almost remember. It's just like I'm trying to figure out. I guess the world is open. Would the world been open for Georgians because they didn't never close the second time? But it's like, where I'm gonna do? Like, what I'm gonna do? Where I'm gonna go? Because even if you went to a lounge or a club, it's like Weekend at Bernie's. It's like for real. Like it's like being in a place and you alive around hella dead people. It's like weird. Like. It's like, and then I kind of like was like, okay, well, let me, I really, and that's what's so crazy because I used to love a cocktail beverage. Like, I didn't go nowhere without getting no taste. And matter of fact, pregame before I went. But now that that's not in my spirit to do, even when I go, I'm like, okay, well, let me get a cocktail because I'm gonna just be looking at people hella crazy and let me try to. But it's just like, no, I'm not about to lower my vibration. I'm not about to lower myself. I'm not about to lower who I am. And it's not like lower, like, oh, I feel I'm better. I'm dead. I'm dead in a different way that you did. I'm dead. I'm so dead that my spirit is floating. And you're dead because you just hella dead. Like, you're walking around trying to, like I said, Weekend at Bernie's. Like, you're literally dead, trying to live life, trying to do all of these things. And it's just like, I just can't even. So it's just weird now for me to integrate after such a long break. And I think this is what, divine spirit meant to do, was to wake up those who, oh, I just need a break. Oh, if I had that one chance. Okay. You had 2 years of time to get yourself together. So what's the excuse as to why you still is doing the things that you're doing? Because we're elevated. We're going. It's a sector of us that are raising higher and higher vibrationally on a regular basis. We're going. But what you gonna do when you gotta stay?
Well, I think the other thing that I think about a lot is, especially if you grow up in Christianity, everything is a paradox. It's like, God is man and God, it's like God is truth and love. It's like, this is why I say the importance of philosophy too, because you need the kind of mind that can detect these nuances. Because if you're just operating purely from a place of logic, You're like, well, how can both of these things exist? It's like, well, they're spiritual. Like they transcend your mind. So you need to be in tune with your spirit, because your spirit is the only way to connect with these paradoxes. So what that makes me think of, one thing I always think about is like, yeah, it's like you could be in church one week and it's like, God loves you, right? And the next week it's like, you need to pick up your sword. So it's like, the whole Christian life is like, you're in, it's a love story, but it's also a war, right? And it made me think, I write a lot of poetry on this, about this kind of, this interesting dichotomy of like war and love, or beauty and love, like how they have similar language. Like the word retreat, it's like a vacation, but it also means to like run away. Like the word ravish means like to like how you do with a lover, but it's also about violence. So there's like this whole paradox of like love and war. And I think that's what this life is. It's a combination, and you have to know how to do both. And I remember a preacher saying, Psalm 23, it never dawned on me. He said, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemy. And I was like, oh, that's what he means. Like you're sitting there dining, and God's like, yeah, just you're having a meal in the presence of your enemy.
Right.
And that's what it's like. It's like every day it's like, oh, we're just living these kind of normal lives that seem mundane, but there is a war happening.
Right.
So that's what, to Nikita's point, that's how I feel. It's like when I go to church, I'm like, y'all need to give me some weapons. I'm doing my own equipping. Like, trust me, I'm not waiting on y'all to give me weapons. I'm doing my own reading, my own studying. The Bible tells you to put on the whole armor of God, because you wrestle not against flesh and blood. So I'm not waiting to go to church to get weapons, but I am looking for some sparring partners. I'm like, hey, I'm like, yo, let's iron sharpen iron. What did you learn? Oh, you got a new kind of grenade? Give me that. I need that. Thank you. Oh, here's some bullets that I got for this week. But when I go to church, right, it's like, I'm like, where's the weapons? Where's the soldiers? Like, I need some help too. So we need to be equipping one another. And if you go to church and they're not teaching you about spiritual warfare, it's like, what's the point?
I know.
It's a social club.
Yes.
It's just a club to meet friends, and that's cool.
Yes.
But like Portia was saying, just be up front. She's right. Like, hey, we here to be friends, and we here to have picnics. Right. And we here to like read the Bible. I'm like, cool. I know what I'm
we gonna go eat. Like you go to the club, we gonna go eat at church.
Right.
But I'm like, I don't know about y'all, but when I leave this place, the devil's not like, oh, it's okay, he's leaving church, I'm gonna leave him alone. No,
right. You're right.
He trying to kill, steal, and destroy. That's his threefold mission. I want to kill you, I want to steal from you, and destroy you. So I need the shields and the swords. So yeah, to me, church is not a game. I take it seriously.
Yeah. So it looks like too that we are dying in everything, what we eat, our relationships, making sure we got sleep, having a proper balance to make sure that we're dying to self in so many ways. So as Nikita said, we can continue to be elevated, to be able to hear spiritually, because like you're talking about, Bernard, as far as having the swords, the thing is, as we are dying to ourselves, and just say for that season, it might be like no TV, no social media, you got to fast more often, you got to pray, you got to meditate, you got to do this, you got to do that. Then that lets us be more in tuned with the higher being, God, universe, whatever people want to say, to be able to hear what our assignments are. And that's the thing that we need to start doing more than ever as we're dying to self, be tapped in, tuned in to making sure that we're doing those things to be able to die. Anyone else? Oh, yes, Nikita.
I was gonna say too, because the main reason why die, why would I die? Why would I kill this avatar, or not live by this person that I have created all this time? Because when you die, then you can be reborn and live in your purpose.
Right.
You can be doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. And it's crazy, like, after a real spiritual awakening, it's crazy to look at and see how much time I have wasted building up something that serves no one. I think there is a portion of my life that, and I still do, as a beauty professional, that I touch people, I build people, I help with their self-esteem, but that was only one part of the assignment. And so I got so immersed in that assignment that I didn't move on to nothing else. And so now dying with that, and I didn't know what I was going to do if I wasn't in the beauty industry, like what to do if I wasn't doing hair and makeup, like what am I supposed to do? And now I'm discovering so many parts about myself. And so that is the challenge, to die of the old self so that you can be reborn, and then so that your gift can help the masses. And you're going to die several times. I'm pretty sure, before I transition, that I will die a couple more times and transition into what is going to be the most helpful for the masses. But that is the whole point of this, and why it is important to die, so that you can be used. And it's crazy now, because now that I am so quiet in my spirit, now that I do spend quiet time, I'm the only child, so I have no problem being by myself. Like I kind of prefer it. Like, and if I am around somebody, it's like selective. But it's crazy because, a lot of people are going around confused. A lot of people are going around still not knowing what's going on, because they're not allowing their spirit to die so that you can hear. You're not quiet in your mind. You're not having no personal quiet time. As soon as you get up in the morning, you got loud music on. Why? Or why you turn the TV on? Like, what news do you need to know other than what the traffic is looking like, you know what I'm saying, for you to conduct your day? So it's kind of crazy, because when I do go to social events and try to go out now, it is so much stimulus that I am ready to go home. Like, as soon as it's like I go outside and it's like, oh my God, like the stimulus be on like 10, to where I be quiet, because I dare not add to the additional noise and the additional energy that's going on, to where it makes me go in the house. But what's also crazy too is now, like Bernard was saying earlier, the job of Satan is to steal, kill, and destroy. Whether it's to steal your time, whether it's to kill your motivation and your dreams, whether it's to destroy your legacy, whatever that is. People are just thinking that he's trying to go around and slaughter. No, if he can make you be if he can steal your time by people, all the time, he's gonna do that also. Yeah. So it's crazy, because when I meet people and they're like, hey, how you doing? And in my face, it'd be like, oh, time stealer. Like, oh, succubus. Oh, like, when I meet people, like crazy. I'd be like, oh, boastful. Oh, jealousy. Oh, like it be just like crazy. So it's just like weird, because now that I have quieted my spirit, and it was funny because I seen this on I think it was TikTok, and it's crazy how I hate TikTok, but they be having some good memes on there. But when a person was talking to him, and he was like, liar, 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 liar. Like another person came up to him and he was like, jealous, 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 jealous. Like, that's how it be. Like, when you meet new people now, it's like that song is written all over your face. You can present to me how you would like to present to me, but most oftentimes, because I have been so secluded, that my spirit is already picking up on what you got going on. And if you are a really genuine person, then yeah, we could definitely link up. But don't get too anxious, because trying to hurry up and get my number real fast and all that stuff, I be nervous. I be like, why? Like, why? Like, I don't know. It's just a thing.
Wow. Nikita, do you want to say anything about because I'm gonna put it in the remarks in the body of the message on YouTube for this session. You want to say anything about the era of expectations to give us a little overview?
Oh yeah. So I am Nikita Nicole, the Illuminist, just in case you guys didn't know. I'm also the co-author of Speaking in Colors. And I have a podcast called Mental Health, The New Wealth. I drop Hot Fire every Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard. Oh, gosh. And so this last week, or this last Friday, matter of fact, yesterday, right, was about the error in expectations and what are you expecting. And so basically I just go in and talk about the expectations. Like, our expectations have changed so much from what we remember. And so we're walking around with old and outdated expectations, in everything that we do. And so basically, kind of to tie it into what we were talking about, what are your expectations of a spiritual walk? What do you expect? Like, what do you expect to joining a certain religion, a certain spiritual sect? What do you expect? And so it's important to really just gauge those things, because a lot of times we go into a situation with these expectations, and then when they're not met, then we're disappointed. Case in point, like we were talking about, when you go into church for community and you learn that you wasn't that bad after all, and the people that you met in church is kind of more messed up than you was. So expectations is not what you thought. And so it's important now to, and I spoke about this in the podcast, it's important to not have any expectations. It's important to have standards for yourself and how you govern yourself, have things that you will and will not do. But so far as expectations, you're going to leave yourself open, especially in this changing and evolving world. Even with all these updates and all this stuff, we might have an expectation of Clubhouse. Okay, I know how to use it right now. I know what's going on. Then next week when we come back, it's like, I don't even know how to use Clubhouse. What they do, my expectations have changed because things are different. So not only expectations in your mental space, your physical space, and your spiritual space, you just always have to be open and not have any expectations to avoid disappointment. But then I also talked about the higher level of expectation and using it to your advantage, because expectation, when you think about it, is real with judgment. So it's kind of a lower level vibration, but everything has an ebb and a flow and a duality. So to use the higher level of expectation, we should be expecting better, you know? So instead of, if you're not basically having a good friend circle, or you're trying to change your friend circle, or they're trying to change your life, be in expectancy of the good things that are happening in your life. And so that kind of looks like, you know, I'm so glad that I'm able to speak with intellectuals every Saturday, or every first and fourth Saturday on Speaking in Colors. I love, you know, doing that, and that type of expectation. I am, you know, expecting and so grateful and so glad to have a mate that loves me, and we are on the same page, and we can grow together and move forward and share our gifts with the world and help make this world a better place. So using expectation as a conduit for which you are able to manifest better things in your life. And so it almost looks as though you are acting as if things are already happening before they do. You know, if you're expecting a new car, you're not going to continue to treat your old car like trash until you get the new one, because you'll never get it. So you have to be in expectancy and making sure that you keep your car up, you know, expecting that new car, making sure you're paying your note on time, or whatever that thing is that you want. You have to be in expectation of that. If you're expecting someone in your life, you know, or you want to manifest a great partner, then you're going to do things that exemplify or are an example of a great partner. So almost like I have heard several times before, would you want to be with you? If you don't want to be with you, then you kind of don't have no business wanting to be in a relationship if you wouldn't even want to be with yourself. You have work to do. So you would get yourself together in expectation of this amazing relationship that you are entering into. So I basically talked about that. And I'm talking about so many other different things on other episodes. I am definitely open for interviews and co-hosts to speak about different things on episodes as well. And so, yeah, so that is Mental Health, the New Wealth. And basically it's based on mental health awareness, difficulties, and disorders. But we definitely talk about everything that has to do with mental health, or like Bernard said, different philosophies also, because that does have to do with the brain functions and how basically we live on an everyday basis. So if you guys haven't heard it, definitely click the link that she's going to put in on this episode so that you guys can tap in. And I'm definitely open to different topics, you know, anything that you think is interesting, you might want to talk about. I'm just so proud of myself because in me dying daily, I have been able to do this podcast 9 weeks straight. And so knowing myself and my lack of discipline,
Woo-hoo!
I wouldn't even say my lack of discipline. I just be free. You feel me? I just be want to do what I want to do. Don't tell me what I gotta do.
And then she got nerve to be on another season. So get in line because she's about to start her second season. All right, girl.
And what do y'all think about that? So okay, so this is my Speaking in Colors family, right? So I figured at the 10th episode, I should do another season, but sometimes seasons are predicated per year. What y'all think about having a new season every 10 years? Every 10 episodes.
Sis, I think it's whatever you choose to do.
Right.
You know, I'm a flower child with you. I do what I feel free to do in that moment. Some people have 10 episode seasons. Some people have, I don't know if I saw like Amanda Seals, one of her podcasts. She had like 15 to 22 episodes in each season. It's all about what you feel led to do.
Okay, I was thinking about that. Bernard, what you think?
Yeah, I mean, my first thought is, I guess I'm so used to a season being, you know, I guess when I think season, I think of a sitcom, and they tend, you know, run a long time. I mean, I don't know. I think it's partially like, okay, what is your audience, right? And like, what do they know? What do they expect? Speaking of expectations, like what is the expectation of the audience? And if you just define the expectations up front, then it's not a problem. Like if you're like, hey guys, season 1 is 10 episodes, then the audience is like, oh, this is who we get. And if they end with that, then they end with that. Like for me, I didn't necessarily announce this, but I do stuff on Instagram when I feel like it. You know, I post these word plays, and whenever I get around to doing them, I get around to doing them. So if you rock with that, do you rock with it? If not, then it's not for you. So I think it's just all about expectations up front.
Right. And that's why we were talking about too, off the subject a little bit, just doing this the first and maybe the last of the month, because the thing is, as we all know, it's a lot of effort to put things together and to be present. And I was telling her, I said her season can even be, okay, she's gonna start a new theme where it might be nothing but guests the next 10 episodes. You know, it's whatever she feels like that she wants to do. You know, like you guys said, she calls her own shots. It's her thing. And to Bernard's point, she can, since this is her first set, she can set the precedent for moving forward on how she wishes to do it, and have her audience follow her instead of her audience dictating, you know, what she should do.
And that's pretty much what I'm going to do. I mean, I respect you guys, so I just wanted to know your opinion, but I'm kind of going to let it flow for right now. I want to have more, a lot of more guests, so I am working on that, and I have like 3 to 4 interviews lined up. However, I don't want to announce anything or start being so formal because I don't want people to expect a certain thing. So if I don't do it, it's like, but you said, like, no, just go with the flow and listen when it drops. Like, only thing that you should expect is every Friday at 9 a.m. it will be there. You know what I mean?
Right.
But other than that, yeah, I'm not gonna make it too heavy or put anything on it. I just felt that when I had got to my 10th episode, it was like, is that a season? But yeah, I think I'm gonna keep the party going. So yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate you guys being here, and thank you guys for participating in Speaking in Colors. Y'all been diehards though. Bernard been here since jump.
Yeah.
He been here since jump. We still hella glitchy. We still
Yeah.
hella raw. You know what I'm saying? We still don't know what the hell we doing. But we be doing it. And you know, he be chewing his gum and he be with the movement and he be here. And we just appreciate Bernard for, you know, being a part of the Speaking in Colors congregation, because we out here.
Well, I wanted to pick up on one of the points you made about the death, because I thought you asked a good question, which was, even the question, why die, right? Now, it took me, this didn't dawn onto me until maybe like 10 years ago, because I was a part of this organization. It was a Christian arts organization, and they had invited somebody to this concert, and he was writing what's it, column on it or something, or a music review. And then the girl who was in charge of our organization, she said, yes, when he came to the concert, he was just like everyone else. He stood up and he listened to the music. And I could tell there was only times he felt uncomfortable when there were songs referring to the blood of Jesus, And it never dawned on me. I was like, oh, that could sound weird, I guess, if you're an outsider coming in to talk about blood and Christ and crucifixion and drinking blood. And I was like, oh, I never thought about that, just because I grew up in church. It's like, yeah, you drink Christ's blood. What's the big deal? It's like, as we do, we eat his body, we drink his blood every Sunday. Right? So,
Weird.
yeah, I heard a comedian say that. I was like, oh, yeah, that does sound kind of funny if you heard it for the first time.
Right.
So the idea of death is so normalized in Christianity. It's Jesus is like, die to yourself, pick up your cross.
Right.
Like he doesn't say it. He's like, you will die daily.
Right.
And it's always like, die to the flesh, kill your flesh.
Right.
So I think if you're a non-spiritual person or non-believer, death sounds like the worst thing in the world. Especially if you experience someone dying in your life, like, why would I want to die? Like, that's not something I'm running towards. Whereas Christianity is like, yeah, the whole point of this is for you to die.
Looking for you to die.
Right.
This is emphasized. Not only is it not you run away from it, you run towards it full speed. Kill yourself. Love your neighbor more than you. Kill your flesh. Deny your own desires. So when I was little, I would read Jesus say, like he said, whoever finds their life shall lose it. Whoever loses their life for my sake, I think he says, shall find it.
Right.
And I was like, so the way I understood that was, it seemed like he's saying, look, you can live whatever life you please. You can choose to make certain decisions, follow a path that is the life that you decided to find, but you're actually going to lose the real you.
Right.
You were intended to be. But if you do the opposite and you lose your sort of entitlement, like, oh, I should get to do this, I should be doing that, I should have this, I should be dating this person, I should have this life. But he's like, if you lose all that stuff, give it away, you will actually find the true you. And so I think it takes that kind of understanding that the things we've been told and sold aren't really us. Right? It's like the young rich ruler. Jesus, like, he's like, sell all your stuff. And the guy was so sad. He's like, what? Like, I'm rich. Right. And Jesus is like, but you don't understand. He's like, you think you're losing who you truly are. He's like, but that was never who you truly are. I'm trying to release you. He's like, I'm trying to detach you from these false identities so that you can actually stand naked, so to speak, right? Like, if you just stand there naked, it's like, oh, that's who I really am, without all this, titles, class, race, fringe, whatever you want to attach yourself to. He's like, none of that stuff is really you. Right. The only true you is found in Christ. So I think that death is it can only be embraced when you realize, like, oh wow, I'm being invited to find the real me that I was meant to be. Like, that is the joy. Like, oh man, there was this ideal person God created me to be, and I haven't experienced that. Like, I've been living some other fake life, some other so that would be, to me, the reason to say why die, is because I'm not living the actual self that I would find the truest joy in. It's almost like someone telling you, like, oh, did you know you came from a long line of your royalty? And you're like, what? I've been missing out on this for like my whole life. Right. Like, okay. And it's like, oh, you got to get rid of all this like poverty mentality. You got to get rid of your old car and stuff. Oh no, but I want that stuff. Right. Like, I want to keep my 1970 Volvo. It's like, but why are you a king now? But I like that stuff. Right. Right. So that's how I think God sees. He's like, I'm telling you to die to this fake life. Right. And like, resurrect to your actual real life. Right. 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 Right.
That was so good. If I can just speak for a second.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Bernard, for the revelation bombs you just dropped in that. because that's a really good, because honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is definitely a spirit-led conversation, like this entire night, because literally, I've been wanting to cuss some folks off. I mean, out, like literally. And I'm saying, oh, this is what we need to do. We need to die, Portia. We need to die to ourselves and die to your fleshly nature that wants to go a little lower down to hell, because that's not where we need to be. So, and it's very difficult and it's tempting, you know, because one part of me is like, well, the old Portia was very much ingrained in hiding behind the religious mask of, let me just be nice and shut up and not say nothing. So I'm like, well, God, you know, in the same breath, I could be like, well, you telling me to strip all of that and just be real, raw, and organic and authentic. So let me let you know what it is and what it's not.
Right, right.
But at the same token, I know that that's not really the message here. The message really is, as Bernard spoke, finding the true self. And as you said, Nikki, earlier, like getting certain things out of your spirit, like starving. I'm thinking of like physical starvation. And when you just don't feed certain enzymes in your gut flora anymore, you don't really have a craving. You're not triggered to want certain things. You don't have an appetite for them anymore. So I'm just really seeing how this spiritual death applies in multiple ways than one, because yes, there is definitely the death of the ego and the false sense of self that we create. There's the spiritual death in terms of dying to the carnal nature and how you just want to like light up the spot and like kill some other folks along with you. You know, if I'm gonna die, everybody needs to die. You know, that's just how I feel right now.
Right.
Where is their cross?
Right, right.
But anyway, again, I am so thankful for you guys. I'm thankful for this conversation and the revelation. Thank y'all.
Great, great. Girl, this has been really good. And like I said, it's always on our YouTube page. And I will be putting the Era of Expectations, which is actually on Spotify, that Nikita spoke about on Friday. So that link will be in there. So you can go to that page and check it out. So as usual, I have my words and my quote. Okay, I like this. Okay, the words are enlightenment, elevation, awakening, identity, emotions, minimalist, motivation, inspired, we are the church, life-altering change, and connections. And then the quote for today is, life without an ideal is spiritual death. Emma Goldman. Okay.
That was so nice.
Okay, bye you guys. Thank you so much.
Oh, wait, so
sure.
before we go, so thank you guys for joining, as always. So we're going to do first
and fourth
Saturdays now.
Right.
So I know we were on every Saturday at 6:30. We're going to do first and fourth Saturdays now. So six Saturdays. So definitely put that on your calendar so that you guys definitely can come back on the first and the fourth Saturday of each month. And we would love to see you.
Thank you guys. Love you. Bye.
Bye.